are you picking it? Okay. I already said okay. Now it says it's being live streamed.
Yeah.
So tell me when you push and I'll make the noise. I'll start. Am I starting today?
Just a second. I don't know what to do.
Hi, everybody. It's Monday, so it's time for live chats with Maggie and Bunny. Welcome. Today, we're going to talk about synchronicities. You know, those times when you think things happen by coincidence, but it's not really coincidence. Those times when you just know the universe is setting you up and things happen for a reason. Well, that's what Bunny and I are going to talk about today. Hi, Bunny. Has that ever
Hey,
happened to you?
hey, Maggie, my life is full of synchronicities. My life has been so full of synchronicities. It's not even funny. It's one of those things we talk about it all the time. I tell you all the time that if I was to take my life story or something that happens in my life, and I said to producers or something for a TV show or movie or book, and I said, here, this is the
Yeah.
story that I want to write. And it's not real. It's this story that I want to write. And this and this and this happened. They'd say, that's too crazy.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever going to believe it. But that's actually the things that happen in my life and how the things just kind of line up and show up.
Yeah.
And it's happened my whole life. And actually in my childhood, while I wasn't raised to be in organized religion and I wasn't really raised in a spiritual sense of word, we didn't really talk about these kind of things.
Yeah.
I knew that there was more because of the synchronicities that happened in my life. I knew that it was too weird not
Yeah.
to be something else. So
Yeah.
yeah. So, so
I
for,
hear you.
for
I
sure.
hear you. It's the same thing. And oftentimes we don't see them until hindsight. And I know that from my own personal experience. I can now, at 63 years of age, I can look back and see times when spirit lined up this for this to happen, for this to happen, that those things would not have played out the way they did. And I know I use my mom's death a lot as an example, but I can even see synchronicities in that. Like in 2014, when I started being a volunteer at a hospice, I had no inclination that I was going to help somebody to die in their home. I had no inclination to be a death doula. I had never heard of what one was.
Mhm.
But I can look back at that now and see that spirit, so called the universe, if you want to call it God, whatever you want to call it, was setting me up and setting me in place where I needed to be for this part of my life, where I needed to be for this event. And I think that's so cool when that happens. Can you think of one example, Bunny, that you'd like to share with us of when that happened to you?
I can think of a multitude of times when this happens to me, but some of them seem really insignificant too, which is the crazy one, which is like, my practice husband and I driving out to go to my friend's house up north, where before the time of GPS, where she said if you get to this gas station, you've gone too far. And I jokingly, as we were passing this street, this little tiny street, and it's in northern Ontario, and it's like small little, it's just trees and trees and trees and trees and trees, and then a tiny little street. And I was like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we knocked there and that was her house? And we kept driving and we laughed. We get to a phone and I call her, and when she comes and picks us up and she says, oh, you're right across the street from my sister's house. What were the chances we'd stop at a gas station right across the street from her sister's house?
Yep.
So we went in there and she picked us up and drove us back. And as we were driving back, we got closer and closer to that street and closer to that house where I said wouldn't it be funny if that was her house? And it was her neighbor. She lived right next door. There were only 2 houses on that street. And so what were the chances that that would be the street out of all of the streets that I would have said that on, that I would
Yeah.
have said that to that house? And so that's when I knew, like, those are times like that that I know. I do want to say there are the times, and yes, we do swear, we use some cuss words sometimes, but we limit it. But Maggie used to have what she would call holy shit moments. And so
Yeah.
I'd love it if you wanted to explain what would happen with that, Maggie.
And they still happen to me. Sometimes it takes me a little longer to notice it, but I remember things like that used to happen to me frequently. And, you know, things happen to get me to a particular place. And I just know, like I remember one time being told by something within my soul that I needed to get out of bed and go to a thrift store. I go to the thrift store and I end up and I'm talking to these two women. The one lady says, "Do you know there's a glow about you?" And we started a conversation. I ended up leaving that place and going to a coffee shop with these two women
Complete
because
strangers.
complete strangers. But it was because that one woman was having trouble and she was thinking she was crazy. And she just needed somebody to tell her, "No, you're not crazy."
Mhm.
And that spirit got me out of my house to go there and speak to those women. And for our listeners, there may be a time when you're driving down the road and all of a sudden you feel something say to you, "Don't turn there."
Mhm.
And you go somewhere different. And then you find out there was an accident
Right.
that you would have been there. Or, you could be somewhere in a parking lot and all of a sudden you feel this urge that says to you, "Lock the door."
Mhm.
And then you find out that there was people breaking into cars. There's so many examples of when this stuff happens,
Yeah.
and it just happens. And like I call them my little holy shit moments when something happens and spirit reminds me, "Yep, I'm right here," you know,
Well,
you know,
I know people talk about, a lot of times when they talk about synchronicities, it's very often the number numerology. So people will hear about that a lot. So having the repeating numbers, so seeing the same numbers, sometimes maybe 111, looking. I know when my grandma passed away, the last time I had seen her, I had to call 911. And for 2 months after she died, every day at 9:11 a.m. and p.m., I looked at a
yeah,
clock
yeah,
every single day for 2 months. And I knew that that was my grandma saying hi. So that's the
yeah,
synchronicity, because the 1 1 with that, and with it being a special number. So that's something else that happens. You'll see repeating
yeah,
numbers very often. And I know personally sometimes I get very confused as to what these numbers mean. And you can look online. There's very many resources on what angel numbers, what they mean. You can find a lot of numbers with time, and you can find numerologists who look at that. But something that I've recently learned is you can also ask your spirit team, ask them, it when I'm on the right track, show me this number. When
yes,
I'm on the right track, show me this bird. When I'm on the right track or the wrong track, show me this flower, whatever the thing may be. And it will show you, you will see it. And that's an incredible thing to witness for sure.
yes, for sure. I know. I was talking to somebody yesterday who told me that they asked their spirit guides a particular question. And then hours later, they were driving down the street, and all of a sudden, in their mind's eye, they heard "no." And they knew it was the answer to the question that they had asked. It just comes to you. It's the synchronicities that, like, why would that just pop in my head? And then you go, "Oh, yeah, that's your answer."
Yeah.
And it's real. And that's what I want to tell people today about synchronicities. They're real. Watch for them. They happen all the time and we just don't even notice.
We don't
So
even know.
start watching. It's kind of like an example I will give you is if you get a new car and your car happens to be the color of that yellow flower behind me, but you've never noticed. You think you have this amazing yellow car, that there's no
Mhm.
more yellow cars in the world. And suddenly you get a yellow car and you see a billion
You
yellow
see
cars.
all the yellow every yellow car.
So I invite you today to ask to see those synchronicities. Just notice one. Ask to just see one, and you will see it expand in your life. You will see that they happen all the time, and I just didn't notice.
I'm gonna challenge it. I'm gonna challenge it, not just one, because one you can play off. Let's say three. Three times, three things, three signs you want to see, three synchronicities that you want to see in the next 48 hours, say, from the time that you're listening to this podcast, that you want the universe to show you, or God, or spirit, or creator, or your higher self, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same name. It's all this, it all means the same thing. And if you pick three, because I know when I did that, I was
Yeah.
amazed. And it's one you can wash away. One you can say, "Oh, you know what? No, that was just my mind playing tricks on me." Like somebody asking for, "I want you to show me red roses." And then the next day you're walking down the street and you walk by a florist that has red roses in the window and you say, "Oh, no, but florists always have roses." But so
Yeah.
you can wash that away, but you can't wash three away. There's no way
Yeah.
you can say that. So
Yeah, for sure. And then we invite you to, wherever you're listening to this podcast, or whether you're watching this on a live. If you're on live on Facebook, add it to the comments. Tell us something that happens. Share with us what it is. Let us share that excitement. And
you know,
Bunny can give you a little more information about where else you might be listening to us, that you can comment, or you can like, you can talk to us about it. We want the interaction about these things. How is it happening? Share with everybody, because that's how knowledge gets shared throughout this world. So, Bunny, where else can they reach out to us?
well, definitely. I mean, of course, we go live on our Facebook page at Above and Beyond. And then we also do have our YouTube channel. So at Above and Beyond, where we also do, so when we do this on Monday, by that Sunday after, it will be online on YouTube. So you can comment on that, like, subscribe, share. We also are on Spotify and Anchor, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, so all of those places as well. We're on TikTok as well. You can find our website, www.ataboveandbeyond.com, and even email us at aboveandbeyond@gmail.com. So that's how you can reach out.
So, in closing today, share with us your stories, those synchronicities of when you knew the universe was talking to you 3 times, as Bunny said. And as we sign off, remember, live your life at above and beyond every day. Bye, everyone.
Bye.